Yeah, what's good, y'all? It's Sean P, the Bluff God. Hey! And we back with another reaction stream. Mm. Make sure, okay, yeah, my mic's on. I was a little nervous, thought it was off for a second. But all right, today we will be doing a reaction video to ELiDZ. So, one of my close friends in this field, ELiDZ. And I know about a week ago I said, I'm gonna probably not do as many reaction videos to his videos because I would rather you guys go to his YouTube and go watch most of his videos yourself. I would rather, y'all do that instead of just watching all of them through me. I don't want to do every single video he dropped, but I will do videos every once in a while. And not only that, we're going to have him as a special guest today. After we get finished the reaction, he will be coming into the stream, and we're going to pretty much talk about the the stream I've been doing, about the video. We're going to talk about the video I reacted to. So I probably won't stop as much. If I have anything to say, I'm gonna probably just write it down and ask him when he come into the stream. But that's pretty much going to be the gist of it. Now, I also want to say first let me say, make sure you show your boy some love and like the stream, and if you haven't already, subscribe. I am doing a giveaway, and the 50 subscriber benchmark has been accomplished. But if you're not a subscriber just yet, it's not too late to be a part of this giveaway. It's not too late. This Sunday, the stream coming this Sunday, I will be announcing pretty much the details of the giveaway. So so long as you're in before winners are named, you have an opportunity. You just make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, my Facebook page. If you're looking for a One Piece group to be a part of, we have the One Piece Discord and the One Piece Facebook group. And all these will be linked in the description, as well as the original video I will be reacting to from ELiDZ. So make sure you go to his channel and give him a like and a subscribe. That would be nice. He makes great content, So let me check out the chat because I see some chats. We got Cube in the building. He says, I swear the time added an extra minute. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. He said it went from 0:45 to 1:20. Dang, I didn't see that. But it's been times where like the live clock would start over. I guess the stream will reboot sometimes and you don't even really notice. At least it reboots on the software that I use, the Streamlabs software. So yeah. Says, sup guys, what's good, Cube? And then we got ELiDZ also in the building. He will be a part of the stream later. He says, congrats on 50 subscribers. And they got the I don't know what you call them little thingies that you pop and all the stuff come out. I don't know what you call that, but we got those. And then Cube blasting them off too. Hey man, we hit 50 subscribers. I'm psyched about that. I'm definitely psyched about that. So yeah, it's a milestone. We're not to be happy about. To some people it's it's not that big of a deal. It's only 50 subscribers. So to me that means a lot. The fact that there's people out there who want to watch the content that I'm making. Somebody blasting their music, you could hear the bass going down the street. It means a lot to me. You guys, checking out my channel and seeing it's something worth, something, like you want to be a part of this channel. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that's enough with all the all of that, right? So let's get into this actual video though. The video is titled Nika equals Gear 5th Luffy awakening One Piece theory from ELiDZ. Uh yeah, I definitely, before I go into it, I just kind of want to give some of my thoughts about Nika and Gear 5th. I do think there is a some type of relation, right? Like again, I can't remember the exact episode of One Piece because I don't remember it being said in the manga, but I know in the anime there was a part where it was the episode where X Drake pretty much went to Queen, like Who's Who came picked up X Drake and then he went to Queen and then they basically outed him as the spy, and then X Drake pretty much jumps out of the window and him and Luffy pretty much like they make like a combo attack on the two numbers that were there. Now before everything happened with X Drake jumping out the window, Luffy went Gear 4 bounce man mode, right? To fight these numbers. And in doing so, I remember Hyogoro watching, and he says that transformation, talking about the Gear 4 bounce man transformation, reminds him so much of the Sun God. He says it was something along that line. I remember in the anime, I don't remember in the manga, but I remember him saying something along the line is like that transformation reminds him of the Sun God. So, I think there's something to be talked about, right? I think there's something to be talked about. So, we got Shane Burns in the house. He said, congrats again on the 50 subscriber. I'm on my way home from work. See you youngins later. Dang, man, he called me a youngin' though. God dang, shit. How old are you, man? I know you can't be that much older than me, Shane. Come on, man. Like I feel like I'm an old man. Calling us some youngins, boy. We youngins out here. But yeah, so I think there's something with these transformations, these gears that maybe relates closely to the sun god Nika. Now maybe Nika had the Gumu Gumu no Mi as well. I don't know, or maybe he had like a version that looked like Gear 4, right? So maybe he also has a version that looks like Gear 5. I don't know what Gear 5 looks like yet, but it's possible. We don't know. Shane also says, what if Luffy's the fruit they're talking about in this really like the Monkey King fruit typo 32 here. Yeah, we the same age. I'm about to be 33. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what fruit they were talking about, honestly, man. Like how it was placed in the chapter, it would almost make you think that it has something to do with Zonisha, right? How, like, when they said that, like the scene that they said that how it was placed, it make it seem like it's something related to Zonisha. Now that could have just been like, they did that intentionally to make you think that, but I don't know. I don't know yet. And then Q said, haven't seen the theory that convinced me. Yeah, I mean, but let's get into this video. Maybe this video will convince you if no other theory has convinced you yet. But Cube said, I'm going to be 31. He said 31 next week. Hey man, hey. Happy early birthday. I'm gonna be 33 in about 3 weeks. About 3 weeks. March. My birthday's in March, so probably a little more than 3 weeks. But yeah, happy early birthday, man. We're gonna have to sell. I don't know. Maybe I might have to sing the birthday song on stream or something. I don't know. Why you gonna do that to me? Don't do that to me, Cube. Don't do that to me. But let's get into this video. And so, because again, we're gonna have ELiDZ dropping by the stream a little later, so I want to be respectful for his time. I'm gonna try not to stop the stream too much because we're gonna talk about it with him. So you might see me writing something down. You might see me writing down if I'm not paying attention. These are just questions that I'm gonna want to ask him later. See, and Shane said I'll be 33 July 31st. See, man, I'm the oldest one here, man. Calling us youngest. I'm the oldest one here. Come on now. Come on now. Let's get into this video. Look like it's going. I think. I'm trying to think. Did we do? Was this like a? ELiDZ, let me know in the chat. Was this like a continuation of another video you did, the Nightmare Luffy one? I'm curious. I'm curious. You said you'll sing. You said I'll sing the Bink Saki song for your birthday. Bro, I would have to learn that. I would have to learn that song, but hey, maybe I will. I don't know. You putting a lot of pressure on me now. You putting a lot of pressure. I don't have a singing voice. You hear this deepness, right? I don't have no singing voice. I'm just gonna sound like happy birthday. Let's get into this video, man. I can't with you guys, man. I can't with y'all. Y'all just start off with all these jokes. Let's go.
Artist that provided us the illustration. Please support the artist that provided us the illustrations to go along with the vision of my theory. What you're about to...
All right, let me give his artist a little shout out. We got Reed the artist with the E and the A kind of reverse, so it's like Rad the artist. And then we also got Headspring .art. So yeah, y'all go check them out, you know. Maybe go support them. Go show some love.
Please support the artist that provided us the illustrations to go along with the vision of my theory. What you're about to watch is part 2 of my theory about Luffy's awakening. Part 1 is linked in the description, and I'll also put the link for part 3 when that is released. In last week's video, I talked about how I believe Luffy will enter a new form in which...
Okay, so this is the continuation of the previous Nightmare Luffy we did. So I'm actually glad I did decide to react to this because it's kind of a continuation video.
He is powered up by ghosts entering his body, which led to me speculating that this could then inspire him to learn how to infuse the spiritual energy around him into his body. Basically, Gear 3rd, Luffy breathes air into his bones. In Gear 4th, he blows air into his muscles. And with Gear 5th, he blows air into his soul. Makes complete and perfect sense, right? Maybe not in the physical sense, but when trying to explain spiritual concepts, the more I simplify, the more confusing it'll be. However, you're in luck because I love to pretend I'm studying alongside Dr. Vegapunk. Let's start with looking at the way Devil Fruit Awakening is used by Katakuri and Doflamingo. It appears as if they somehow can infuse Devil Fruit power into their surroundings. I'm proposing that Luffy will not only learn how to project his power outwards into his surroundings, but also pull energy inwards. I believe that this ability born from Devil Fruit Awakening, in addition to his mastery over Haki, will birth Gear 5th. Now, with that being said, what new form will Luffy take on while in Gear 5th? Will it just be bound?
Man, I'm really trying to picture Luffy meditating right now. Like Luffy does not seem like somebody you gonna see meditating. I mean, it's a dope moment. It's a dope art though. Dope art. I'm not mad at it. It's just I'm just trying to picture Luffy actually meditating, like Zoro or something, right? Like Luffy's just too carefree to sit still that long.
Will it just be Bound Man 2.0? No way. Before I talk about one potential name, we gotta consider the possibility of multiple forms and why that would be the case. First off, if Gear 4th has multiple forms, wouldn't it be expected for Gear 5th to have multiple forms as well? That goes without saying, but also consider this. Nature comes in many forms. There are all kinds of habitats. The weather changes and so does the seasons. The environment is considered to be the outer elements. On the contrary, I believe there are inner elements that correlate to each color of Haki. I could dive more into how I believe Gear 5th will be a byproduct of Luffy's inner nature becoming in tune with his outer nature. But this intro has gone on long enough. I keep mentioning that Luffy needs mastery of Haki for Gear 5th. Devil Fruit Awakening is the part where Luffy gets in touch with the outer nature, but I don't think that's where Gear 5th ends. I believe Luffy needs to have a balance within himself before utilizing the power of the outer nature that he pulled into his body. Haki Mastery is the part where Luffy gets in touch with his inner nature. I'll elaborate more during the intro of part 3 of this theory, but I'm going to hang up my lab coat for now. Let's move on to the fun speculation of what Gear 5th could look like and actually do. If Luffy were to enter Gear 5th based on the energy around him, then it shouldn't come as a surprise that it will also mean the form he takes on adapts to his environment. In fact, I said this in a previous video. Now that Luffy is in Wano, he seems to be in the perfect place to master the advanced form of armament. I'm going to go over this in Understanding Haki Part 4, about how the environment can also affect the development of Haki. Have you ever noticed that in Wano, a lot of the animals around have flame patterns? I'll just leave it at that for now, but please stay tuned and check out Understanding Haki Part 4. I speculate that Kinemon has mastered the third form of armament, hence why he can use fire abilities. Also, Hyogoro has flame patterns in his design. I'm not sure if he can currently use a third form of armament Haki, given how much his will was broken in Udon. However, despite the possible lack in his willpower, he may still have experience of his own to share with Luffy. Or maybe Luffy just learned it on his own. Luffy has developed most of his techniques by himself. He's great at learning things solo. Flame clouds are something Luffy would at least need to witness in order to learn from it. And that's no problem, considering he witnessed Momonosuke use it all the way back in Punk Hazard. Not only that, he fought Kaido. Luffy has learned from his foes before. When Luffy developed Gear 2nd, he learned how to use Soru not long after his fight with CP9. In that video, I came to the conclusion.
Maybe like Luffy would maybe he could create like his own flame clouds, except like made out of rubber or something. That'd be wild. Like they'd be like rubbery flame clouds. He could create like a rubber flame nimbus, you know, where it's like it's kind of like a nimbus like Goku would ride on, but it's like made of rubber flames. Like that'd be wild. Like if Luffy could create flames that are rubber, bro, that'd be wild. Like how you make rubber flames? Let's continue.
That Luffy will debut a new form called Gear 4th Sunman. Since then, I have considered that Luffy's new form may surpass the limits of man. So I present to you the new name I have come up with. Gear 5th Sunugado.
Yo! Bro, ELiDZ, man, I would have been mad at you if you ain't had that yo. If you ain't had that yo at the end. I'm glad you put it in, though, man. It definitely deserved to be.
So the name isn't all that different, but it makes even more sense. Also, quick pat on my back, because I theorized Sunman before Nika was introduced into the story. I have gone over a sun-based Luffy before, and because of that, I don't want to be redundant. I described in great detail how I think Sunman would work, so I won't repeat myself here. Just watch my theory on Sunman to get the most out of how I believe Sun God would work. However, I didn't reference Devil Fruit Awakening in that video. The rubber power Luffy awakens is what I believe would elevate him from man to God. My speculation for Luffy activating Gear 4 Sunman was as simple as him using Muscle Balloon in the third form of Armored Haki, which I believe to be coating one's body in fire. However, Gear 5th would be different. Instead of Muscle Bloom, it would be the gathering of the breath of his environment. But this isn't literal air, but rather a spiritual energy known as Chi. Once the Chi is in his body, it will have both spiritual and physical ramifications. It'll first affect him physically by causing the air and liquid to heat up within specific parts of his body. It would apply the properties of hot air balloon to Luffy's limbs and head. More specifically, Luffy's arms, legs, and hair would grow so disproportionately big that it would be a hindrance in battle. I could imagine Luffy's expanding hair taking the form of an afro. And would you look at that marking on Afro Luffy's chest? At this point, Luffy would have been successful letting the spirit of the outer nature within his body, but now will need to match his inner nature to the foreign power. By doing so, he would be able to claim the chi from the outside as his own and convert it into haki, which will then take on the form of a third level of armament haki, aka fire. You might be wondering, if the air and liquid in his body start to heat up and he catches on fire, could that potentially be harmful to Luffy? Well, no. Just look at this explanation from Oda as to why Diablo Jamba doesn't hurt Sanji. It has to do with the heat of his heart, and I don't think Oda's just joking here. He might actually be serious. Which is precisely why I put such an emphasis on Luffy's inner nature. If his heart can match the heat of fire, or even greater than that, then he will be safe and sound being a god of fire. After he has found equilibrium within his body, his arms, legs, and head will shrink down to normal proportions and envelop in flames. His hair is going from an afro to something resembling a flame on top of his head. However, I could totally see Oda's playful and goofy self keeping the afro all throughout the form. And you know what? That would actually make some sense given that the sun is a ball after all.
Now, you know why that would make sense? Because Luffy love afros. You know, like, come on, like let's not forget the GOAT version of Luffy. You know, the GOAT version of Luffy, Afro Luffy from back what was the Foxy Pirates the Foxy Pirates art. Was that a canon art? Somebody let me know in the chat. Was Foxy Pirates, was that canon? Is that in the manga, or was that like a filler art? You know, when they had the Davy back fight, right? And Luffy went Afro Luffy to box Foxy, right? So was that a canon art? Somebody in the chat let me know if Davy back fight was canon or not. I know there was like a couple arcs with I think there was like another arc with Foxy as well. I think that one was definitely filler though. They was like on they was on like a vacation ship or something, like a cruise ship, or they was like on something where it was like a cruise ship or a vacation island or something, and Foxy just happened to be there, and then he had like this little, I want to say it was like a tank, right? It was like this little tank where he could kind of bounce his ability off. It was like made of mirrors or I honestly can't even remember really. But ELiDZ said the first Foxy arc was canon. Yeah, I thought so. And then Shane said Afro Luffy was definitely filler. LOL, it was canon. Now I think so. If that arc, because I think that's the arc where we see Afro Luffy was during the Davy back fight, the first Foxy arc. So I think that I think Afro Luffy is indeed canon, Shane. But I was kind of thinking it was a filler. It seems like a filler arc, really. To me, it did. Like when I was watching it, it seemed like a filler arc, but it makes sense, you know. Let's continue. You know, maybe we'll get another Davy back fight down the line. You said ELiDZ says Afro Luffy is from the manga. Okay. Again, I started reading the manga like after Dressrosa. You know, matter of fact, I've been wanting to go back and reread the whole manga, but it's just having the time to do so. I still gotta catch up with Solo Leveling. You know, like I haven't even been reading Solo Leveling, and I definitely want to catch up to that. Maybe I might do like a stream where I don't know. I might do like, I don't know if y'all really follow Solo Leveling, but you know, that's epicness. That's something y'all need to get hit to. There's no anime to it yet, not yet. Even though I heard that they're trying to do an anime, but that's greatness. It's greatness. Let's continue.
You heard it here first. Sun God Nika has an afro.
He said, Shane said, my bad. ELiDZ said Afro Luffy is on the cover of volume 33. Okay.
Alright, enough talking about how he'll look, and let's start talking about what he can actually do. One way I could see fire enhancing Luffy's rubber powers would be for him to heat up to the point at which his rubber body will become even more malleable and as a result allow him to better shapeshift. I could see him doing something such as turning his fist into a mace. He might even mold his entire body. In my original Sunman theory, I gave reasons as to why it would make sense for Luffy's fire form to be based on either a dragon, monkey, or lion. Gear 4th already has 3 forms, so perhaps those 3 forms having the element of fire added to them would make them models for Gear 5th Sun God. For example, Luffy taking on the appearance of Snake Man, but with fire hair and arms could be called Sun God Model Dragon. Bound Man with fire could be Sun God Model Lion. Chances are, Tank Man's fighting style wouldn't be appropriate for Sun God, but if there were to be a model for Tank Man, I wouldn't know what to call it. By process of elimination, it would be Model Monkey, but
maybe it would be Sun Man. Cause think about it, like Tank Man is like a big ball, right? He's just a big ball, you know, it's a defensive, it was a defensive transformation. So just imagine being a big ball of fire, right? It's like you're damn near the sun, right? Like, you know, so if he had like a Tank Man version of the Sun God, I would just think it would be the Sun Man or something, you know. I mean, that would kind of, but I don't know, like it would just be the sun, right? Like he'd be a big ball of, like maybe he could turn into fire, you know, maybe he could like inflame his body with fire, and then he's like an actual literal sun, except without being as hot as the sun, because you know then that would be just dangerous. That'd be dangerous for everybody on Earth at that point. But Q said, I dig Sun Man. Said this makes sense. Yeah.
but
I kind of have my thoughts on Gear 5. You know, not saying it can't branch off of this theory. I'm probably talk more about it with ELiDZ, but because I had my version on Gear 4 and how it's going to differentiate from, or how Gear 5 is going to differentiate from Gear 4 possibly. You know, I always kind of had my beliefs on things, right? But let's continue.
I think Sun God's base form would be Model Monkey. If you have an idea for Tank Man, tell me in the comments section what model it could be. However, after I explain how I think Sun God will fight, you'll see why I doubt Tank Man would have a Sun God form. As I said, I think Sun God's base form would have Model Infernape. Oops, I actually mean to say Model Monkey. The most appropriate weapon to use in this form is the one that Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, uses. With Devil Fruit Awakening, he could probably create his own power pole. Remember how Katakuri could spawn Fist out of donuts? Luffy might be able to do something similar with Flame Clouds, thus he could forge Fist, weapons, or Fist shaped like weapons. Most importantly, what makes Gear 5th a big upgrade from Gear 4th is that it uses an external energy in conjunction with Luffy's own power. A huge oversight in my Sunman theory is that I didn't factor in Luffy's stamina. If Luffy were to use all of that advanced haki in his Gear 4th, it would make the time limit even shorter in exchange for power. I can actually imagine Luffy attempting this against Kaido, giving it his all with just his haki alone. In the process, he might defeat his own self before Kaido even has to. Him being drained of his own spiritual energy is what can make Luffy the perfect host for other spirits to enter his vessel. Oh boy, I really want to see Nightmare Luffy again. Anyway, regardless of what level of arm and haki Luffy uses, he seems to have
I low-key want to see like a Gear 4 version of a Nightmare Luffy. Like if we don't get Gear 5 by the end of Wano, which, you know, I was always of the belief that we probably wouldn't, you know, because I firmly, you know, I'm kind of of the belief that Awakening, like Luffy has to learn Awakening first, right? Because I think Gear 5 is probably, because I think you even said it, I could be wrong, but we'll talk more about it. But if awakening is necessary for Gear 5, I would think we would have to get an arc where Luffy definitely awakens his Devil Fruit abilities, and then that would be kind of the foundation for Gear 5, right? Because now, man, we'll talk some more about that.
Time and energy limit. However, in Gear 5th, he could be surrounded by energy to fuel his stamina. In fact, the power of a sun god would be too much for the human body, even if it were to be a rubber one. Thus, he would constantly need to burn up the energy he receives. This form would definitely be one that focuses on speed and assault. Let's not limit Gear 5th to just a sun god. If Luffy were to have more than one form of Gear 5th, then perhaps we will see him become a moon god as well. Please support the artist that provided us the illustrations to go along with the vision of my theory.
Hey, thank you, Teller. Whoever Teller is, thank you. That's your wife. Hey, salute to you, Teller, for the artwork. The Head Spring Art or .art on IG. So y'all go show some love. Let's continue.
Provided us the illustrations to go along with the vision of my theory. This is probably the video I've been most excited to release in a good while. Thanks for watching my food for thought. Check out the rest of my channel for more videos like this. I have a series in particular which I go all out, and I highly recommend you check it out. You have finished the main portion of the video, however, if you check the time bar, you may see more of the videos left in what I call the secret ending. I hope you catch my next video. Till then, see you next time.
Alright, I'm gonna let you guys watch the secret ending on your own. All you gotta do is go to the link in the description box. That's where we will get his YouTube, or you'll get his YouTube channel and everything. Hey, ELiDZ, if you ready, definitely pull that camera up and I'm gonna get you on the stream. I'm gonna give him a second to, get into the stream, and then we're gonna bring up ELiDZ.
Okay. Zoom just decided to randomly not respond for a second.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, we got you in the stream. Say so.
Hello there.
All right, yeah. We got you. If there's any audio issues in the chat, definitely let me know. If y'all can't hear him, you should be able to hear him. I know I can hear him, and I'm getting signal on my software, so it's telling me that you are being broadcasted as well. So if there is any problems, like you guys in the chat, y'all can't hear, say something in the chat. What is good with you, ELiDZ?
It's all well. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
It was a theory that probably, I made quite a few theories as of lately. It was probably the one I was looking forward to making the most. The Nightmare Luffy one is a close second, though.
Yeah. Cube said ELiDZ, and then he said, "We see you now."
Nah.
Yeah, you probably didn't originally see him because I didn't have him on the screen just yet. So that was on me. That was on me type thing. But yeah, okay. This wasn't one of your longer videos, so I don't have as many questions. Plus you kind of answered a lot of any question I was about to write. You kind of answered them. But hey, let's talk about it though. Let's talk about it. One thing you said, right? You was talking about like Luffy would be able to take in the air, right? Like he'll take in the air, but not like, I guess it's not normal air. It's like chi, right? Like it's him taking his breath. And is there any relation to does that have anything to do with the breath of all things? Like him
exactly
taking in that chi.
Things. That's the basis of why I even say he's taking in the air around him, because we've seen through Zoro's experience that there is a breath
Mm-hmm.
in the environment, in inanimate objects, whether it be a rock. Even trees have, he described it as a heartbeat. So, it kind of takes it to the next level. I think there is levels to it, but at the very least, all things have breath,
Yeah.
and breath is a translation for chi or spirit. So that's why I even proposed that Luffy could access energy that's around him. I didn't just pull that out of thin air. I know it just takes the combination of those two concepts, really, the breath of all things, and then the second thing, Devil Fruit Awakening.
Yeah.
Through Zoro, we see that the area itself has its own some consciousness, something, some energy. That's one thing. And then through Devil Fruit Awakening, we see that Devil Fruit users could literally interact with their environment through the use of their Devil Fruits. So take those two things, put them together. That's how I really came up with Gear Fifth for the most part. Oh, well, then the third most important thing is the fact that Luffy's gears always involve his breathing.
Yeah.
So combine those three concepts, and that's how I came up with my idea for Gear Fifth.
Okay. So, I guess I was gonna ask something, but I guess that's more related to awakening, right? So okay. So, do you believe that Gear Fifth will be highly dependent on an awakening? Because
Yeah, so
I've
the
always been to
way,
that belief.
yeah, definitely. I don't think that there's much for Luffy to make a Gear Fifth without awakening. I mean, what more could there be? We've already seen him add, you know, transform his body, give himself a power boost. That's Gear Second and Third. We've seen him incorporate hockey. That's Gear Fourth. What more is there really to do? You know, when I made last year my Gear Fourth Sunman theory, I stated in a follow up video that there was a reason why I didn't call it Gear Fifth Sunman. Because all I was saying that Luffy was doing was just adding fire to his already established Gear Fourth form. So if he's not really doing something revolutionary new, it doesn't make sense for it to be a new Gear Fifth. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you look at like Gear Third isn't an improvement upon Gear Second. It's literally its own thing. Same thing with Gear Fourth to Gear uh from Gear Third to Gear Fourth. They're all their own thing. So
Yeah.
that's precisely why I think there needs to be something to revolutionize it, and that would be Devil Fruit Awakening.
Yeah, I kind of got different thoughts of that, but I'll kind of tell you. I'll talk about that later. But like, yeah, I definitely I was always of the belief that we would get an awakening from Luffy before we dropped the Gear Fifth, because I figured like seeing how we get like the how Luffy is right in the middle of a
Mm-hmm.
fight. He does certain things and then he kind of builds on them. Like he'll take certain
Yeah.
concepts and then be like, you know what? I think I could also do this. So I always kind of looked at Gear Fifth being or awakening, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
once he learns awakening, like that being the catalyst to be like, you know what? I can I can probably do this with my awakening and create a new
Yeah.
gear. But before I get into my next question, we Cube got a question in the chat.
Oh yes.
He says questions regarding the chi. Do you think it's linked to ninjutsu, like how ninja can paralyze their opponent when we don't or what is that? When we don't know he did it? When we don't know he did it?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's not something I've really looked um too far into. Mainly because oftentimes whenever Oda has toyed with the idea of ninjutsu, it's always been like there's some gimmick to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just waiting for him to reveal a gimmick for this whole paralysis thing. It's I think he's self-aware at how kind of like ridiculous it is for this fight to be dragging out so long. I think he's just trying to like prepare to just be like, oh, so maybe somewhat serious, but also a gag at the same time.
Yeah,
So I haven't really thought too much into that.
yeah,
However, if it really is something that involves supernatural, then yeah, I would think that there's probably some involvement of chi and or hockey.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, whenever something supernatural does happen, it's either devil fruit or hockey. And there's very little things that happen throughout the series that haven't been stated to be either of that. Like one of outlier situations was that the painting a member of Baroque Works, you know, that girl that could paint and do stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
never really explained how she could do that. Hawking's voodoo is a little weird. But other than that, it's mostly those things. And even those things could possibly be linked to chi and hockey and just ways that aren't mainstream. You know, I think things that involve like hockey is like the mainstream version of understanding what you can do with chi. Whereas there's other things like rokushiki and fishman karate and various other applications that aren't so like accessible to everybody that might just be the same source of energy as hockey, but people don't understand it like that. They don't
Mm-hmm.
realize it.
Yeah, it's just a different way to use chi. What you saying?
Mm-hmm.
I got you. I got you. So there's something I kind of I guess I would say a little disagreement I got. But let me read this chat from Cubes. He said, makes sense like how we thought Robin's power was telekinesis, but then found out about her devil fruit. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't know what Robin's ability was. I remember she destroyed a ship, and then it was like, how'd she do that? But you know, but like, okay, I kind of disagree. Like when you say like each gear is like that, I guess different. I always had a different opinion on what Gear 5 could potentially be. Not saying it couldn't be like be related to the Sun God, because I think I think Gear 4 is related to Sun God Nika, because like what we got from Heel Goro when he said what he said during that fight when he seen Gear 4, right? He was like, "Oh, every time I see that transformation, it reminds me so much of the Sun God." Like he ain't necessarily said Nika, he just said I think he just said the Sun God or whatever. But I always looked at it like this. Like when I look at Gear 4, right, I kind of look at it as a flawed gear, right? Because that's why he needs different transformations. Because each transformation, it almost has its own strength, but it has a weakness. So each transformation is the strength. It has strength where the other transformations are weak. Like we got Gear 4 Bounce Man, right? Which to me that's probably the most well-rounded form we see in the Gear 4 because it's faster than Tank Man, but it's not as fast as Snake Man. But its defenses aren't as good as Tank Man, but it's probably going to be defensively better than Snake Man. So I always kind of look at it as like my view on what Gear 5 could be is something that takes awakening, right? It takes awakening to almost perfect each version of Gear 4 into just one, to where he doesn't have to use different versions or different transformations. Like he just has to go Gear 5 and he gets the benefits of Snake Man, the benefits of Bounce Man, and the benefits of Tank Man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always kind of been my how I think it. And he's kind of using maybe hockey and awakening to facilitate it, I guess. So, but your belief is that there are different versions of like different transformations.
Sun God was just the first video. I said right at the end, like, yeah, well, if there's a sun god, maybe there could be a moon god. That's just me literally referencing what the next video is going to be about. And it's to show that, like I say, he's working with nature, and nature comes in many forms. So it's going to show that he's going to have a different form that is very different than Sun God, as opposed to Gear 4th. Because Gear 4th, I think, just look at the naming scheme I chose. Gear 4th is like Bound Man, Tank Man, and then I said Gear 5th could be Sun God. And that's sort of taking it to the next level. Because Gear 4th, like you said, is flawed. Well, it's flawed as any human can be, because it's limited to just Luffy himself as a person. But with the taking it to the godly level, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for what he can be capable of. So, if you look at Bound Man and then you look at Snake Man, they're not that different. It's more just like he's trying to specialize what he can do in that form. Bound Man's more all around. Snake Man's more for speed. Tank Man's more for defense. That's like I don't know. I don't know if familiar with like Pokemon. This is like this
Mm-hmm.
alien Pokemon that can take different forms named Deoxys. But what I'm saying is this sun god thing would be like having different gods of nature. So the next form I'm going to come up with, Moon God, is going to be way different than Sun God, but it's still powerful in its own right. And most importantly, it's showing ways of mastery of both Devil Fruit and Haki, and how if you adjust the two, it creates a whole new ability. Uh, with the whole comparing Sun God to Gear Fourth versus Gear Fifth, I think with Gear Fourth, one, um, it has the name man in it, so that sort of like conflicts with it him being a god. And the translation for what Hyogoro said Luffy wasn't sun god, and in fact it wasn't even god of fire, which was the way Crunchyroll translated it in the anime. I thought that was a very interesting tidbit, and I did include it in my theory, the first one with Nightmare Luffy. But what he actually says is Mio, which means like Wisdom King, which is very different than being a sun god. Wisdom King really means you're like an enlightened. It's like
Mm-hmm.
an enlightened deity. There's multiple Wisdom Kings. In fact, Kaido is referred to as a Wisdom King, and to unpack that is a whole theory in of itself.
Yeah.
But the point is that I think with mastering Haki comes with your journey of enlightenment. And to me, that makes sense as to why that would be crucial in Gear Fifth, along with Devil Fruit Awakening. It
Okay.
has to do with Luffy going beyond himself. And I think that's one of Luffy's specialties is his ability to almost surpass his limits with doing things differently than most other Devil Fruit users.
Yeah.
If you look at the best example of this is Luffy versus Katakuri. If you look at the way Katakuri fights, it's mostly he tackles one thing and then he just gets really good in that area and he probably moves on to the next. So he observation, he got future sight, armament, he got block mochi, which is super hard. Like it was overpowering Luffy by a lot.
Yeah.
He then went on to just Devil Fruit Awakening, and now he uses his Devil Fruit Awakening techniques. But then if you looked at Luffy, he was really inferior in all those. In fact, he doesn't have Devil Fruit Awakening.
Yeah.
Yet
Yeah.
he was able to beat Katakuri with an asterisk. He was able to beat
Always that
Katakuri
asterisk.
because he was able to use his Devil Fruit in a way that gives him an edge. He uses his gears, and the special thing about gears is the fact that you can't predict where he's gonna go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Gear second, it was just a power boost. Gear third, it's an attack that makes it big.
Yeah.
Gear fourth, now it's a resource dependent transformation based on his own Haki.
Yeah. With different
And I
transformations.
think, yeah, I think the most special thing about Gear Fifth that I will highlight more probably in the next part when I probably definitely I'm like 90% done with that. Let's say 80%. Um, is the fact that not only is he getting energy from an outside source, which, you know, transcends his limits, but because he's getting energy from an outside source, he doesn't have to deal with that oh, I'm going to run
Drawback.
out of stamina and be weak. I'm not to say that it's going to give him infinite stamina in all scenarios. Like with the sun god thing, I said he's going to constantly need to be doing like the spiritual breathing to put that energy in him. In fact, it's going to be too much where then he has to constantly burn that energy. That's kind of based off a real life concept of the breath of fire. It's like it has to do with yoga, and you literally just breathe like, like almost like you're hyperventilating, but you're not. You're in a controlled situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because of that, he doesn't have to deal with that stamina because it's like, how much can you perfect Gear Fourth if he has to be limited by his own stamina?
Yeah.
And if he did Devil Fruit Awakening the way Katakuri or Doflamingo or Law does it, how much is that going to truly help him out? You know, we've seen the way Katakuri and Doflamingo do it. They just like affect their area. Okay, great, but that's not going to help Luffy too much if he running out of stamina.
I, s-
We've seen the way Law does it,
I could
and it's
see it.
almost like
I could see a benefit. Like I kind of disagree with you there because I would say
it could
because
be a benefit,
it
but
could be
it's
like
not
a
gonna.
bounce house, right? Like if he had like a bounce
Yeah,
house, just imagine him bouncing around and just going a lot faster. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. There's no
Something
doubt
along
about
that
that.
line.
I think I'll get to that part afterwards. But
Okay.
I'll just say if you look at Law, Law's using his Devil Fruit Awakening much more like it's just doing a better version of his regular Devil Fruit. In fact, he's like, man, this is my last attack and all that stuff. He's talking like it's more resource dependent on himself. Now, the reason I say how much is it going to help Luffy is because Luffy's up against someone like Kaido, who is probably gonna have Devil Fruit Awakening
Mm-hmm.
and has mastered his Devil Fruit Awakening. And it's just like I said with Luffy versus Katakuri. Katakuri was better in all categories, but what got Luffy to match him was the fact that he could use his ability in a unique way that gives him uh, extra versatility and unpredictability. So if Luffy were to just use Devil Fruit Awakening in a predictable way, where it's just like, oh, I turn my environment into rubber, it's like, how is that so special that it could then get him to match someone like Kaido, who's probably already mastered whatever he can do with Devil Fruit
Mm-hmm.
Awakening?
Yeah.
I think it's been a trend with Luffy that that's what gets him to beat all these guys. That's what sets him apart from everybody.
Yeah. All right. Let me read some of this chat because I got like a couple from Cube. He says also his gears seem to be incomplete of Luffy's awakening. His gears have the same drawbacks as Kids in Law's awakening. Yeah,
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Like the way their awakening works is like that wouldn't be enough for Luffy to like get to the next level.
yeah.
It's just another gear for it.
I see with Luffy's drawback is because he's manipulating his body. You know, where
Mm-hmm.
kids awakening is like he's kind of using like he's manipulating the environment, but like in Law is not really doing much with his body. He's just kind of amplifying his power to a degree. But like with Luffy, he has to actually like with Gear 2, right? Like because Luffy even like made the observation. He was like, "Hey, you know, I see what you're doing. You're pretty much expanding your blood vessels and your arteries in order to
Mm-hmm.
push more blood a lot faster, which inherently makes all your stats faster. But it has a drawback. You know, it's killing you. You know, like it's
Mm-hmm.
killing you or it's shortening your lifespan. So you know, him manipulating his body, I could see why it would have that drawback as opposed to two characters that aren't really their awakenings or their abilities aren't dependent on manipulating their body specific. I mean, they're using their body to manipulate things. Don't get me wrong, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not in a sense manipulating their body to a dangerous degree. So I think that's kind of difference with Luffy and like a lot of other characters' abilities. Because all Luffy's abilities are mostly his body. It's always him using his body in some creative way, you know, because
Yeah.
he is in sense his ability. He is his weapon. Where Law's weapon is kind of like he could create a room bubble and then do whatever he want within that bubble. And he also use a sword as an extension, you know. But okay, and then Cube also says makes sense that Luffy would get different forms, considering his devil fruit turned him into rubber and not generated. So maybe his awakening working differently to Law or Kid's awakening. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, that's one thing to factor in. But if you look at Katakuri, his body is made of mochi, but he still can affect his. I mean, his awakening work just like Doflamingo's.
Yeah, yeah.
So I could see Luffy's uh being able to manipulate his environment like the normal way that Katakuri was doing. And I that will be one of his hypothetical gear fifth forms that I come up with, where like maybe one of those forms he really heavily focuses on being able to manipulate his environment.
Yeah. So okay, so I wanted to touch on something you said, not during the video, but you said, I think you said earlier while we was talking. So gear fifth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh each version, like because you said there will be a sun god and then the moon god. So is each version based? I forgot how, because I was going to ask this a little earlier, but I kind of forgot how I was going to ask it. So is each version a sun god? Like, is it gear fifth sun god, or is sun god just a transformation of gear fifth?
So it's not much different than Gear Fourth. You got Gear Fourth Bound Man, Gear Fourth Snake Man, Gear Fourth Tank Man. So you would have Gear Fifth Sun God, Gear Fifth Moon God, and all the other ones.
Maybe like gear fifth lightning god or something, but like just different gods. But okay, yep. I got you. Because I kind of thought you meant like each of them were going to be like variations of a sun god or like.
No, I did touch on that in the video, and that's why I said, well, maybe he could go Gear Fifth Sun God model Dragon, Gear Fifth Sun God model Lion, sort of borrowing that naming scheme from the way the zones work.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I got a question. It's a little off topic, because I kind of want to talk a little bit about the previous chapters, about especially the previous one, because it's kind of off topic because we talked about one thing we talked about was Nightmare Luffy, right? And Nightmare Luffy is also built on the speculation that we will see spirits, right? Yeah. That we will be getting spirits in Wano, which is definitely one of those theories that I definitely agree with you on. I've been kind of saying the same thing for a while, and I've always thought about Nightmare. I mean, my theory on Nightmare Luffy in Wano was more dependent on Blackbeard coming to Wano, to try to take Kaido's devil fruit, and also bringing Gecko Moria, who would have possibly maybe had like a short little alliance with Luffy, where it's like, because to me it would make sense that Gecko Moria would want to see Kaido get defeated, like he would be there and also want to be a part of it because they have that history, so it's kind of like a little closure for that little plot point. So, but even your theory, your speculation, your strategy of getting a Nightmare Luffy, I like that one too because it's a different way about it. But one thing I noticed, because we've been talking a lot about seeing these spirits, right? And you say like we already, or maybe it wasn't you. I think it might have been. It was either you or Joy Boy Theories, right? And he was saying we already kind of got a lot of foreshadowing, like we seen Odin, right? So he said, that Oda is kind of preparing us because we see Odin before, and he might really come back, maybe through Yamato or whatever. But recently, as the last chapter, we see Big Mom, right? We see Big Mom. I don't know if that was an awakening attack she did, but she did this attack called Mother's something. It's like Mother's something, and
the misery thing.
Mother's, and then it said misery, right? So we see this character who, to me, it looked like Mother Caramel, right? So do you think that might be a little foreshadowing? We might get Mother Caramel and Wano talk some sense in the Big.
I don't think what sense could she talk into Big Mom? It's not like Mother Caramel is like a good character, a good person.
Maybe not sense.
What kind of attachments would she have to the world now that she's dead? It'd be kind of odd to see what Mother Karma really has left to offer Big Mom, except for the truth of like
Yeah, that's what I
things
mean.
went
I don't
down.
mean sense, but maybe she'll tell her what really happened. Maybe that will kind of
Yeah,
impact Big Mom in some type of ways, so she'll see things differently. You know.
yeah. If anything, I would think she would come back as a vengeful spirit and like hate Big Mom, and that would be devastating to Big Mom because Mother Carmel is the top person in her life. So for someone like that to come back and just be like completely loathing Big Mom, that would turn her character upside down. She probably would just go back into amnesia just from the shock alone.
Bro, that
But
would.
as far for that Mother Misery, yeah, it does look similar. I mean, really, it's the Cloud homie, the new Cloud homie
Hera.
itself, Hera.
I think she's just a lightning. I think she's just like. I don't even know if she's a cloud really. Like maybe lightning cloud. I don't know.
She's
Like
we seen her in her normal state. She looks like a cloud.
I mean, I
And
guess yeah. Like she doesn't look because she doesn't look like a cloud in the same sense of a Zeus.
yeah,
You
I
know,
think
like
that's just Oda trying to do something different.
yeah, I guess
'Cause it
that.
was like, what's the point in bringing making another version of Zeus?
Yeah, right.
Um,
I
but
mean,
Hera's hairstyle is a little reminiscent of Mother Carmel. But besides that, I wouldn't say that really looks all that much like Mother Carmel. If anything, it looks kind of like a young Big Mom. Because Mother Carmel had a very like pentagon looking face.
yeah,
It's very distinct looking, small nose, big mouth. But Big Mom, she's more has like a round face and the big nose, and that's kind of more like what. Besides the hairstyle, that's like more like what Hera looks like.
yeah. I I think Mother Caramel coming to tell Big Mom the truth. I think that will actually cure Big Mom of her abandonment issues. Now I don't know how that would like change her character like overall though, like her not having that abandonment issue, like. But to know that she was responsible and that they didn't leave her, like it wasn't that people abandoned her. It was the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you ate them, you know, like
Yeah,
that might at least cure her of her abandonment issues. I would think.
yeah. I really hope Oda does reveal it to Big Mom. I'd love to see what she does from that point forward, because that would be just so revolutionary to her. Because so much of her identity and life that she's lived thus far has been based on this idea that they're out there somewhere and that she wants to make her big family with them again, and she's looking forward to that tea party where they're all big and together again, and it's like
Hmm.
to find out that it's all for nothing because of her own actions. That would just like rock her whole world.
Yeah, and that might, yeah, exactly, and that's kind of where I think it could impact. It's like if she figure out that it's her actions, right? Her, impulse that took away people that were important, or maybe that might actually make her, look at it like, I can't be as impulsive in situations. I can't just go on throw a tantrum every time I get angry or I'm hungry or whatever. You know, I was thinking something along that line maybe.
Yeah, but that would be if she was of rational sound mind. If she was presented with that news, I don't think she'd be like, "Oh, well, I gotta learn." No, she'd probably be like yelling, and her eyes would be all whited out, the big classic One Piece, just like her brain would be broken. Like
Yeah.
that would be interesting that her brain gets so broken that she just becomes a rational individual. She just like, I'm a normal person now.
And like just imagine if she does that, right? Like she let's say, because I would assume getting that information, like you said, it might not make her rational right away. Like she might
Yeah.
be broken to where she just don't, like she can't tell up from down or left from right.
Mm-hmm.
So she could potentially do something to hinder Kaido, what Kaido's doing, and hurt Kaido in some type of way. But yeah, like I could see it, something along that line, you know. But what else did I want to talk about? It was like oh yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you. When do you think we'll be getting this Gear Fifth. Do you see that happening at Wano at this point?
Um, so I talk about this in my next video where I propose the idea that Luffy might already be on to something. Like if you notice the progression of a lot of times we see Luffy try something or he'll have an idea and then he'll finally flesh it out at some point. So he might be pondering with the thought of what if I can get in tune with nature? Like maybe he's already been doing awakening training. I think it would be kind of lame if just during the middle of the fight he's just like, "Oh, I can awaken now, and now I'm gonna beat Kaido." I think it would be better established if he's kind of already been working with awakening. We've already seen him have his aha moment with Conqueror's coding. I don't think we need to have a whole bunch of basically ass pulls at this point if he just keeps on getting these power ups mid battle. Um, so I hope it's something where he's actually been trying to experiment and work with awakening, um, which could then be him trying a new gear out. And maybe his idea for Gear Fifth is to use it to gather energy so that he could then use Gear Fourth again.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him rationalizing it that way at first, thinking, oh, Gear Fourth's limit is the fact that I run out of energy. Oh, I just need more energy. But then maybe realizing, hey, there's a flaw in that, and eventually thinking, well, what if I can transcend my own limits, use this energy to actually uplift myself rather than just trying to refuel myself over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it will kind of be like, Luffy learning future sight, right? He sees Katakuri doing it, and I could see that happening. Like it getting to a point where he's like, I gotta do something. I gotta try something, and him thinking back fighting Doflamingo and Katakuri, right? And he's saying they was able to manipulate the environment, right? Like they was able to use awakening, like can I do that? How do you do such a thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it would make sense because we see Kid use awakening at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Law use awakening at this point, so it will almost kind of make sense that him being the other. I like to call him the dynamic trio of the supernova or the monster trio or whatever. I mean, I just kind of made that up. I don't know why I said it. Like I call them. I usually call them the monster trio or the supernova. I just wanted to be a little different and say dynamic trio. But since they're like the monster trio of the supernova, I can see them all getting that awakening ability maybe at once. Even though with Kid and Law, it kind of seemed like they already had that.
Yeah, that's what I want for Luffy too. I'm getting tired of Luffy just like mid battle, it's starting to enter that fairy tale type of territory with Luffy. And
yeah,
I'm hoping he's was prepared for this battle. It's not just constant miracles. And he can kind of get away with it with hockey more, so because it's been established that hockey blooms, stuff like that. But the devil fruit thing, I would hope that he'd actually like had some kind of training. He isn't just some like Jesus character that can just whenever the time calls, he just learns these things. It's just like,
or like
Oda is too creative to just do the same thing over and over again.
I can see it being something along the line like he tried it during training, but he failed. Exactly. But then like in the middle of like maybe it's something like like you have to be able to feel it, right? Maybe it's something you have to feel, like especially depending on what kind of awakening ability I would say. Like if it has something to do with like the surroundings, like manipulating your surroundings, like we see Doflamingo and Katakuri, maybe with them they almost had to feel their surroundings, right? Enough to be able to manipulate it. Kind of like the Breath of All Things, like where they had to be able to actually feel the walls breathing and almost like the walls are alive and stuff. So then they could, use their You know, because what I could see awakening being is maybe some form of your devil fruit ability and maybe like hockey. You know what I'm saying? Maybe conquers hockey to where it's uh like you have to be able to impose yourself on inanimate objects around you, or
Mm-hmm.
depending on which you're using as your awakening, you have to be able to sense the things first. Like you have to be able to feel and sense its breathing, and then you have to impose it almost like it's a human or something. You know, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how we see Conqueror's hockey affect humans. So I would see it almost like subjects humans, right? Like you have to subject that human. So I would see like with an awakening, you have to first be able to feel whatever you're awakening, and then you have to be able to subject it, you know, like subjugate it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like
That's
law.
along the lines. You're gonna see in my next part. I basically say a lot of that language because if you notice throughout this whole sun god theory, I've been harping on it being the third form of arm hockey. You know, fire, fire, fire. But what I didn't talk about is how important observation and conquerors hockey factor in. And that's because I don't want to just go on and on and on about this stuff in my videos. I want to have some fun parts and then some parts where I'm just like, here's all my analytical stuff. So what I try to do is at the beginning, I'll talk about it. And then at some point, is like I said, all right, now I'm going to start talking about Sun God Luffy. So in the next one, I am going to talk about that Moon God. But before that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how observation, the breath of all things, I think it allows you to actually detect the breath.
Yeah,
And then conquerors, well, you're a king, you conquer your environment. You can then command in voice.
yeah.
You know, I think that's one of the big reasons why hockey is referred to as voice. You're literally giving a command.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Skyrim at all?
I've played Oblivion. I've never beat it because I got stuck on a part and it was just like I
Mm-hmm.
quit because I was stuck because I couldn't complete a mission because it was like I was stuck on it. And I think I played some of the last one. What was it? The one with
The
all the
most recent one,
dragons.
that would be Skyrim, I think. I actually never played Skyrim.
Not the
I was
online one.
watching I was watching Taylor play it,
Mm,
and they were talking about how dragons they use their voice, and I just thought it was so similar to like Conqueror's hockey and stuff. I literally like just listened to the whole lore of Skyrim, and it was just incredible. Like, and then it started making me think like how dragons relate to One Piece and all that stuff. But I think more as the story progresses, we're gonna realize just how important this concept of voice. Because you notice I'm always talking about breath. Well, voice is like there's chi and there's breath, and then there's hockey, and then there's voice. Because voice is really that your soul speaking. And I think that's
mm,
really what hockey is. It's your soul trying to manifest and voice itself physically through armament, spiritually, you know, through conquerors. It your voice, your soul's trying to hear things and all that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna go through in the next video.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely think that's like that would make sense though. For me, that would make sense if awakenings have to do with conquerors hockey and maybe observation or the breath of all things. Well, even though you say like breath of all things is kind of related to observation, but yeah, like when you think about it, like everybody, all the characters I think we've seen use awakening for the most part.
One
Especially
exception. Law has not been confirmed to have conquerors hockey, I don't think.
okay. Well,
So we don't know with that.
there's
But
other exceptions though that I would say, and those are probably like the imple down prisoners or jailers.
oh well, yeah, but they're a little different though. They
Yeah,
don't seem like they're actually in control of themselves. They
yeah,
seem like they got like experimented on or something. So yeah, that is an exception as
and
well.
I would
I
think
think
it.
with law, I'm just gonna say with law, one thing that might have to do with Law's awakening
Mm-hmm.
is his sword.
Yeah,
And I said this all the way back in I made that video where I put together my 3 cursed swords theories, and I said I think that the reason why Law has a cursed sword is so one that cursed swords have conqueror's haki in them. That's what make them cursed.
Yeah.
And two, it's so he can channel his devil fruit powers in
Yeah.
them. And all 3 times he's used devil fruit awakening is through his sword, and I think he uses his sword as like a shortcut. I actually said this about Hawkins too. Hawkins, if you notice, when he manifests like the straw, it was through his sword, and when he made that like big giant straw like monster, again it was through his sword. He might have a cursed sword. I feel like cursed swords could be like an avenue to allow power to flow through.
Yeah.
And if you think about Enma, which is also a cursed sword, it literally does that like to a next degree for Zoro. It literally like sucks his power out of him.
Yeah. And I was going to say though, I would see awakening work with conquerors, but in some cases not so much. Like for a swordsman, right? Like I would think awakening, like if I was a devil fruit user as a swordsman, maybe the fact that I already subjugated my sword, right? Like I don't think you need conqueror's haki to subjugate something. Like if it's has something to do with your personal body, you probably already have it subjugated. So like devil fruit users that are like zone users, they probably wouldn't need to subjugate themselves in order to I mean, I guess you would to a degree, but not with like conqueror's haki. You wouldn't need to subjugate yourself. Or in like Law's case, he has a sword. His sword he's been fighting with it all this time, so it's like he probably already has a level of subjugation to it. So, so if you're like subjugating an item, you may not need, like if it's just one item, you may not need conqueror's haki. Or if it's yourself, you may not need conqueror's haki. But if like on a level to where you're doing it to the environment, I think that's when conqueror's haki would probably be important, because you got to be able to conquerors in observation haki, because you got to be able to feel it, and then you got to be able to subjugate it. As a swordsman, I would think you already have like the ability to pretty much be in tune with your sword enough to be able to feel it, and then it's just a matter of subjugating it,
Yeah.
And if you train with it and fought with it so much, that might not be as hard. But as opposed to subjugating like the environment around you that you don't really have a connection with at all, it'd be a little different.
See, it's interesting you bring that up, because one of the very first time we seen conqueror's haki used was on Whitebeard's ship, and it was by Shanks. Shanks has no attachment to Whitebeard's ship, of course, but he was using conqueror's haki, and it was affecting his environment. It was literally starting to break and fracture the ship. So that's showing that conqueror's haki literally does affect the area around you.
Yeah.
So if you combine that with the concept of like, if you could project your devil fruit outwardly using devil fruit awakening, it makes perfect sense why conqueror's haki would use it that way. And then it would also explain why Law's use of devil fruit awakening it possibly could explain it, why it's so different than someone like Katakuri and Doflamingo if he doesn't have conqueror's haki. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does have conqueror's haki.
Yeah, who, Doflamingo or Katakuri?
We know he has it. I meant Law.
Oh, Law, okay.
Yeah, he just might not be good at using it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's using the cursed sword to kind of like cheat his way to utilize, devil fruit awakening.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
I would think Law would have conqueror's haki though. Like again, it's not confirmed, but I would think he should have it. Okay, I got another question. I know this stream kind of weak. I didn't even realize we've been going, but so you think that there's pretty much a, like with awakening, that you can pretty much awaken inwardly, like your devil fruit, you can awaken it inwardly and outwardly. Like, would you say that's the case? Like some people could awaken it inwardly and some awaken it more so outwardly, like as far as what they're affecting.
So are you referring to when I was saying the inner and outer nature? Or
I'm
you're
guess
just saying like
I'm
the
guess
different ways we've seen Delphin Awakening.
I guess I'm talking about it from when you said that Luffy would not be using it in the way that uh, Doflamingo and Katakuri uses it.
Oh, okay. So that's sort of in two parts. I think I'll answer first the whole inward and outward thing with Devil Fruit Awakening. Like, can it differ from person to person? I think with we haven't seen Logia Devil Fruit Awakening, so I can't speak on this. But Zone Awakenings, I believe their awakenings involves literally like the awakening of that animalistic spirit, because we've seen with like Funkfried, Spandam's elephant sword, that the zones actually have like a consciousness with them. So I think their awakening has to do with that consciousness being unlocked, probably helping them to transcend. If they could have like elevated consciousness.
Yeah.
If you look at those jailers, that might be why they behave the way that they do. They're like no different than Funkfried. They may just be like almost empty vessels of people, maybe people that got brainwashed or whatever. And they literally just exist as their devil fruits. That's who we're seeing in those jailers, just like we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing with Funkfried. That's just the theory. Um, so I think zone users, they use it in that capacity. Mythical might be different, but we don't know. Um, and then there's paramecia. I think paramecia's whole thing is that they just affect outwardly. They project their devil fruit powers outward. And even though we've seen it used in different ways, that really is the one trend between them all. Kazakuri and Doflamingo used it in the same way, pretty much, just affecting their environment. Kid used it where he was forcing other things to be magnetic. You know, he is the magnetic human as the person who ate that fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was able to do was make Big Mom magnetic. Um, so that it was him projecting his power outward. He turned Big Mom into a magnetic human. Now he's not the only one that's magnetic from that dough fruit. It's almost as if Big Mom could have that dough fruit now,
Mm-hmm.
but to her detriment. And then you have Law. Even Law is really projecting his power outwardly. What he's literally doing is you look at the way he does room, right? He can make a room and then he can expand its size. And anything in that room is subject to his abilities. The room itself doesn't hurt anybody. Take that entire description and just apply it to his sword, and that's what he did. It was like he gave his devil fruit to his sword. Just like the room can expand, well now his
Mm-hmm.
sword can expand. Just like the room doesn't actually hurt people, now his sword doesn't hurt people, and all of those things. So that's the common trend I've seen with Paramecius is that they are basically almost granting their devil fruit to other things, whether it be the environment, their sword, to other people like Big Mom. So now to talk about the inner and outer nature of Luffy. Luffy is someone who is super creative and takes concepts and takes them to the next level. Just not by powering up like going Super Saiyan 3, but just by thinking of things differently. So, what Luffy might be able to do is realize that it's called the breath of all things, right? It's all things, it permeates everything. Maybe Luffy could somehow realize how to incorporate that into himself. That is basically becoming one with your environment. That's why I bring up that sage mode comparison from Naruto, because that's what being a sage is literally becoming one with your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So if Luffy could realize that there's power in his environment and they all have their different breaths, and a breath is a frequency. It's something I talk about in understanding hockey. It's literally, if you know, because you make music, right?
Yeah.
A sound is on a frequency, right? Well, anything's on a frequency for the most part in breath, because you breathe out and then you breathe in. You breathe out,
Mm-hmm.
you breathe in. So that's, Zoro, when he was talking about the breathing, he even looked at Daz Bone, and Daz Bone is a steel human. And he was like, I could hear the breathing of his steel. It's like him saying, I can detect the frequency of what he is made of.
Yeah.
So if Luffy could adjust to his environment, he could adapt to it almost and like become part of it. And that's the inner nature. That is the hockey. That isn't the Devil Fruit Awakening, because Devil Fruit Awakening is him getting in touch with the environment.
Yeah.
Hockey is the frequency again, because hockey is referred to as color, and it's never explained why hockey is referred to as color. It's just called the color of arms, the color of observation color. It's never explained. What does color have to do with hockey? Well, my whole theory, my chocolate theory, is that each color is a vibration. So if he could match the vibration of that, he could elevate his being. That's what takes you from man to God. So that whole inner thing, it's almost like Luffy could be applying, what zones do with their awakening to himself. And I think that's kind of been Luffy's trend with Gear Fourth, really. It's like he could transform himself. It's like, whoa, that's what zones do, but Luffy's somehow learning how to do that.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, that's all pretty much all questions I got for you. So if you got anything else, you got any upcoming things or just anything on the topic that you wanna kind of talk about or finish up, or like you want to wrap up the topic, or if you just want to talk about what you got going on,
Yeah. The Moon God Theory video is gonna be coming out on Saturday. So yeah, just look forward to that. It's gonna be a lot different than Sun God, so don't think you're just gonna get some of the same thing. Like, I think that's the beauty of what Gear can set Gear Fifth apart from Gear Fourth,
Yeah.
is the fact not only from power scaling perspective, oh, it's more powerful, but I think it's fun to see like, oh, these things can be different, and it's uh you would get an entirely different fight from a Moon God than you would from a Sun God, as opposed to from Bound Man to Snake Man. Bound Man and Snake Man, they actually use a lot of the same attacks.
Yeah.
Mainly the Wolverine. So they're a battle between, from Bound Man or Snake Man isn't going to differentiate all that much. It's just going to be like, oh, Snake Man's going to be faster, or Bound Man's just going to pack more of a punch.
Mm-hmm.
That's not too different. I think it'll be so cool to if we were to realize Luffy had access to these forms, it would be fun to think, oh, what form is Luffy going to use to take on this guy?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of battle is this going to turn out to be?
Yeah. Makes sense. All right, so you got the Moon God that's coming. You said Saturday, right?
Yep.
You'll be dropping that Saturday. I think I might react to that one just because since it's part of the series that you've done, we already we already reacted to the Nightmare Luffy, and now we are reacted to the Sun God. So now we got the Moon God. So we'll react to that. And y'all, again, make sure y'all check out his channel. Go like the video that we reacted to, and hit him with a subscribe. The link is in the description, guys. Y'all definitely have no excuse why y'all can't go to his channel. Or you can search up ELiDZ, ELiDZ. Anything else you want to say? Any plugs, whatever,
No, just thank you for having me. Thank you for reacting to my video.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate that. Any chance I have you here, it's always a good discussion we have, and I always appreciate it, But
I've been grinding these videos out, but I feel like with this Moon God, I'm almost done. I'm gonna take a breather, and I'm going on vacation. At Saturday, actually, I'm gonna have the video done before Saturday and do the scheduled upload.
Mm-hmm.
But starting Saturday, I'll be going to Canada to visit Taylor because she lives in Canada. So
yeah, okay, all right. So y'all got that. You got any other topics that you plan on doing on the horizon much later? I know you're going on a vacation. But...
like in my head, in my brainstorming thing, the Red Sea theory, I do want to come out with a part 3. That's just gonna be about, well, why would demons be down there? How would they get down under the crust of the earth? How would Lunarians get down there? And I'm even gonna reveal that I think that place could be the origin of dragons.
Yeah.
That dragons could have originally been sea kings down in the Red Sea.
Okay. Well, Cube said thanks, and he said he said no questions. Everything was clear. So, he don't have any questions either. I don't have any more questions. I think this is probably one of the times where I'm like, man, anytime I came up with a question, it was always an answer right behind it. So it was a little difficult for me to come up with a whole mess of questions for you this time. I'm usually good at that, but so we got ELiDZ. Shout out to him. Go check out his channel. Go subscribe. Go like his videos. Anyway, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff Guy. Hey, and make sure you like this stream. Make sure you subscribe to ELiDZ. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. I am doing the giveaway. We already hit that 50 subscriber milestone. So we're waiting until this Sunday for me to give you guys the details on how it's going to go down. But y'all got to watch the whole stream because I'm not giving it in the beginning of the stream or the end of the stream. I'm giving it somewhere in the middle. So I'll make sure y'all have to watch it in order to get the details to it. But yeah, anyway, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Bluff God. We got the One Piece community on the Facebook group and the Discord. Everything will be linked in the description, so y'all can check that out. And y'all could go to ELiDZ channel. I'm sure he'll have his social media stuff on there, but you could probably what social media you use? I know you use Twitter.
I use Twitter sometimes, Instagram sometimes, but mostly I YouTube. It's not really a social media thing, but I have on my YouTube, it has all the links to everything. Email me if you want to. I don't care.
Well, y'all know how to get in touch with him if you want to get in touch with him. He's also in the Discord as well, so he hops in there sometimes, so that. But there's other ways you get to him if you want to reach out to him. I don't know if he wants y'all reaching out to him. I don't know if he like y'all like that. So
there's no problem. Yeah, I'm in the Discord more because of Cube. Yeah. He's the one that got me in the Discord more. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Cube. And also shout out to Shane for stopping through the stream. Well, yeah, anyway, that's pretty much the video. Shout out to ELiDZ for showing up. That's always a good thing. I always appreciate that. And anytime I can react to his videos, I'm always pretty stoked about that. And when I have him where I can ask him about the video, it's even better. But anyway, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night.